We are here at the Frio River in Central Texas, and it's March 5th, 2023, and we are going to diagnose the continental terraforming of the true ancients. Let's begin. The first thing we see is this interesting line across the river. It goes at a 45 degree to the flow of the river, and as you can see, it continues on across past where the water is. So we see that line continuing on. All right, that's one line at a 45. Now that 45 becomes two parallel lines right there. So that first line is not the actual line, the second line up is, and they parallel each other across the river. So you can see that this is a 45 to the flow of the Frio River. And we're going to see other examples of this upstream. So here's the same angle, and you'll see that step down there. It's a 45 degree angle across the river, and it's just a step down of about a foot or so. Upstream is a step down, but this one, or these two parallel lines, comprise a step up, a single step up. So you can see that significant step up. It's probably about, 8 inches. We have found 45 degree angle creek bed and riverbed sectioning, 45 degree angle riverbed building construction in the distant past from explorations on 3 continents. The evidence accrued is fairly compelling that the true ancients who built the continents did so from the riverbeds and creek beds up, and they used 45 degree angle sectioning as the strongest geometry to create hills on either side. So here's the hill on that side, and you can see these massive concrete blocks that have come out. The university would call these natural sedimentary limestone, but they're in fact not sedimentary. They're artificial concrete laid down in sections. It looks like those came from near the top. Okay, so it looks like there's a huge, that is thick layer of hard concrete there above a really tall, softer layer, earthquake mitigating layer. Ecological terraforming layer. Ecological terraforming refers to the slow daily washing away of creek banks and river banks across the world, creating potent mineralized soil for plants to thrive in. So day by day, the rain washes away the creek banks and river banks and creates soil for Terra. So that's ecological terraforming. So eventually, because the softer layers are no longer supporting the hard layers above, the hard layer above, that hard layer comes down in the sections that it was composed of. So those sections are the shape that they were made in by the true ancients who built the riverbeds, who built the creek beds, the hills, because creek beds and riverbeds are foundations of hills on either side of them, and the mountains. So that's how they did it. Now we're going to go upstream and look at some more 45 degree angle sectioning. So we're about 50 meters upstream, and we can see again the 45 degree angle step down created in the distant past by the true ancients who built the continents from the riverbeds and creek beds up. Now why would they make a step down? Why don't they just make it smooth? Why are they stepping it down? Well, for the same reason that they're texturing their riverbed. Same reason. To slow down the water. So they channel it, right? They channel the water parallel to the flow, and they also break the water at an angle to the flow. So you have this break right here. So there's the break, and there's the parallel channel, and there's the parallel channel. So these were not created by erosion. These channels were created by the ancients, the true ancients who built the continents. This is really, 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 really hard concrete. And there's been no significant erosion over time, I would theorize. Okay? No significant erosion. So this is how they laid it down. These channels right here. So they're playing with the water, and they want to make sure that it goes slowly. So they step it down, they have a flat plateau, and then they step it down, they have a flat plateau. And so the water creates negative ions through the turbulence. Negative ions will give life to the planet. And we have another line above that, just above it, another angle across the flow. Looks like we have a significant bend to the left of the river. So as the river bends left, they'll change their 45-degree angles to match the flow. So it's a 45-degree angle construction job, and it's a 45-degree angle to the flow of the river, or to the line between the hills. The line between the hills is what the water follows. So they create their hills from the riverbeds up. They are essentially creating not just a foundation for their hills, they're creating the line where the water is going to run. So once we ask ourselves the question, is what I'm looking at out in nature natural or artificial, then we begin to see the evidence for the artifice of the true ancients. In earth science, of which there are 74 subdisciplines, the question is never asked, never, is what I'm looking at natural or artificial? In other words, the assumption is that everything in the universe, including the earth, is natural. It formed naturally. It just formed this way. It's just happenstance. It occurred through random physical events and energetic events and chemical events. So when we politely enter the academic arena, let's say we open the old oak doors of academia and begin to walk down the hall, if we encounter a professor of earth science, perhaps a geology professor, and if we ask that person, what is your premise? That person will say, my premise is that we, Homo sapiens sapiens, are the first advanced race in the universe. We are the first race to raise our heads above the muck and mire. We are the first race to achieve self-consciousness, self-awareness. With the achievement of self-awareness, we understand that we exist, we understand that we have a future. And then we begin to do things like build cities and farm. So, because he will continue, he or she, this person who is the geologist we have met in the vaunted hall of academia, this person will continue and say, because we are the first advanced race in the universe, we know with absolute certainty that the continents and the earth and all continents and all earths, all planets, all suns, all objects in the universe are natural. We didn't build them. There was no one here in the universe to build anything. The only race who could have built anything is Homo sapiens sapiens. and that's a recent development in the history of life on Earth. We know we didn't build the continents. We know that with absolute certainty. We didn't have the manpower. Therefore, because neither we nor any other race built the continents, neither we nor any other race built the Earth, we can say with absolute certainty that when we go out into the terrain, onto the terrain of this planet, everything we see will be natural. Everything we see out in nature will be natural. As far as structural geology. So, the premise is, in short, we are the first advanced race. We didn't build the continents. Therefore, the continents are natural. They came into existence through natural forces. The question, therefore, is never asked. Is what I'm looking at natural or artificial? When a geologist goes out into the terrain, onto the terrain, the geologist never says, is what I'm looking at natural or artificial? The geologist knows it's natural. But we, talking to this geologist in the vaunted halls of academia, can then reply, what if we change the premise? What if we say there are advanced races in the universe and the Big Bang is a fairy tale that is a joke without end? The young universe theory, the Big Bang theory, 13.8 billion years to the age of the universe, is a total scientific joke. I'm not going to go into the reasons for that, but the stack of books on next to my computer, written by really smart people, astronomers and other researchers, that explain why the Big Bang can't have happened and didn't happen. Among them Eric Lerner, Hilton Radcliffe, Halton Arp. These people, these books have completely debunked the fairy tale that is known as the Big Bang. So if you don't have a young universe, if you have a universe of infinite time, which is what our universe is according to the science that we have now, there may be a beginning to the universe, but we haven't found that scientifically. So as far as science is concerned, our universe is one of infinite time. So if you've had a universe of infinite time, then races who have emerged have had, depending on when they emerged, have had millions, hundreds of millions, billions, hundreds of billions of years to advance technologically. They have had time to learn how to build planets. Building a planet is undoubtedly child's play to advanced races. Continent building is undoubtedly child's play to advanced races who have had time to advance their technology in so many arenas, including 3D and 4D printing. So, let's continue to keep the question in our minds, is what I'm looking at natural or artificial, as we go out onto the terrain, because that's a scientific position. It's not scientific to say, I know what I'm going to find. I know I'm going to find natural continents that came into existence through natural forces. That's completely anti-scientific. So we're going to act like scientists, we're going to continue to act like scientists, and we're going to look for geology. The title of this video is The Quest for Geology. I'm looking for geology. All I find is terraforming. I find building. I'm interested to find some geology. I know there is some because we have fossil beds. Over time, the concrete continents eroded and the granular mineral material was washed into low-lying areas and created what we now know of as fossil beds. So all those fossils, all of the mineral content of all fossils came from the erosion of continental concrete. So we can find some geology. We just need to just need to go find a localized dump of eroded granular material that became stratified and gave us the chronology of life on Terra. We don't have a fossil bed here. The footprints of huge dinosaurs that you see down riverbeds and creek beds those footprints occur in continental concrete. And you say, well, how did that happen? Were they there when the riverbeds were created? That's a good question. We have to figure this out. Was terraforming a multi-stage process over millions of years? How long did the animals flourish on the planet? Is geology's timeline of life on Earth correct? Because geology connects the time that species were on this Earth, lived and died, lived and went extinct on this Earth. All of that's connected to geological estimations. So if it's not geology that they're estimating, but continental concrete, maybe we have to revise our timelines. Maybe the Earth is much younger than we thought. Maybe it's much older than we thought. But we have to keep our minds open to radically different timelines for animals on the planet. Fossil beds exist. It's just a question of how we frame the information we get from what is the context of all of this information. What is the context of the fossils? How can we accurately date them? That's the question. So let's continue upstream, and we'll see if we can find some geology. This is called, as I mentioned, the quest for geology, and we'll see if we can find a part of the riverbed that's not constructed in the distant past by the true ancients.